Hare Krishna. Today we'll be discussing Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 6, text 5. We'll also be discussing text 6, 5 and 6. Uddharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva hi atmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmanaha. So Krishna, in this chapter, he explains about Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, in which the role of mind is very critical. With the mind, one can elevate oneself or one can degrade oneself. So that is what Krishna says in this verse. Atmana, Atmanam. So you see number of this verse, how many times this Atma is used. Uddhared Atmana, Atmanam, Natmanam, Atmaiva hi Atmano Bandhur, Atmaiva Ripur Atmanaha. 7 times the word Atma is used. One of the most extraordinary compositions of Bhagavad Gita. In just 4 lines, 7 times the word Atma is used with different meanings. And very interesting meaning Prabhupada has given, translated. And only an Acharya can understand the real intent. Because Prabhupada mentions in the purport, the word Atma denotes body, mind, and soul depending on different circumstances. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. So Atma, the first Atma here refers to the mind. So let's see what it means. Uddharet Atmana Atmanam. Uddharet means Uddharan Karana. Uddharan means to lift, to deliver. Uddharet. Taret, Uttaret becomes Uddharet. Means to deliver. Atmana. By the mind, one should deliver. What should one deliver? Deliver means not deliver a product, deliver a mail. Not that kind of delivery. Hare Krishna, can everyone please go on mute? Not that kind of delivery. So deliver means to deliver oneself from this material entanglement, that kind of delivery. So one should deliver oneself or the one's soul through one's mind. Atmana, Atmanam Uddharet. Na Atmanam Avasadayet. One should not degrade oneself. Avasadayet means to put down or degrade. Atmaiva hi Atmano Bandhuhu. Atma, again it refers to mind. Atmaiva hi Atmanaha Bandhuhu. The soul's friend. The mind can be the soul's friend. Atmaiva hi Ripur Atmanaha. Ripu means enemy. Atmaiva hi Ripur Atmana means mind itself can be the enemy also. So Prabhupada translates this beautifully. A man must elevate himself by his own mind, not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. See? Prabhupada mentioned several interesting points in the purport. So, in the material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and senses. The pure soul is entangled in the material world because of the mind's ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature. And in this way, the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. So, this is the reason why it is said one should control one's senses. In all the spiritual paths, there is this element of controlling senses. Without control of senses, there is no spiritual path, there is no spiritual progress. And the reason is beautifully explained by Prabhupada here. Because if you're attracted by sense objects, you become more entangled in material existence. You'll perpetuate your material existence. And you will go down to the lower species. Very dangerous. Prabhupada, in another purport to another Bhagavad Gita shloka, where Krishna talks about what is the austerity of mind. Manah prasadaha saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhava samshuddhirityetat tapo manasam uchyate. What it means is the austerity of the mind is serenity, simplicity, gravity, self control, and purity of thought. We have to detach the mind from sense gratification. Prabhupada mentions there one powerful statement, very powerful statement. We should contemplate on this. We should focus here. Satisfaction of the mind can be obtained only by taking the mind away from the thoughts of sense enjoyment. The more we think of sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied. See? We should contemplate on these two powerful statements. If you want satisfaction of the mind, that can be had by taking the mind away from the thoughts of sense enjoyment. The more we think of sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied. And what do we do in the present age? That is the only thing all of us do. In general, the people of this world, they do. We unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification, and so there is no possibility of the mind's becoming satisfied. So, if we are not engaging the mind in sense gratification, what should we engage the mind in? Swadhyaya abhyasanam. Swadhyaya means to study the Vedic literature. So Prabhupada says the best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories, as in the Puranas and the Mahabharata. One can take advantage of this knowledge and thus become purified. So you see, Srila Prabhupada's life, he would sit in the evening in a garden with his disciples, and occasionally people would come to talk to him, outsiders. But sometimes there won't be, and he would have this Krishna book read to him. And he would, devotees would ask, Prabhupada, where should we, what Krishna book, what story we should read, what chapter we should read? Prabhupada would say, just pick up the book, just randomly turn to any page and start reading. Because Krishna is like a candy. It doesn't matter where you bite from, it'll taste nectarian, wherever, it doesn't matter. Unlike those sahajiyas who want to imitate and jump onto the Rasalila chapters without understanding the nature of Krishna, Krishna's killing of Kamsa, Krishna's killing of the demons is as transcendental as his pastimes with the gopis. So any chapter, it doesn't matter, it's transcendental. And then they would be reading to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada would be enjoying, sometimes laughing when Krishna was killing the demons. He would be laughing, he would be making comments. So that's how we should absorb our mind. So one time Prabhupada was making this comment. So when Kamsa, he arrested Vasudeva and Devaki. He was harassing them and he was killing these. He already killed these 6 children that were born before Krishna. And again Devaki became pregnant. And so Narada Muni came to, actually before that, the first child was born, and Vasudeva, out of faithful word, he gave the word that he will deliver all these babies to Kamsa. He gave the baby to Kamsa, the first baby, and Kamsa became compassionate and let him go, saying, "Okay, my problem is with your seventh child. I got nothing to do with this. You can take them away." And Vasudeva was surprised and shocked, and he couldn't believe it, but he took it away. And then Narada Muni came. His whole purpose was to accelerate the appearance of Krishna. And of course, these 6 children that are appearing, they were supposed to be killed by Kamsa for their destiny. So, in order to accelerate Krishna's appearance, he would tell Kamsa, "Hey, why are you not pursuing your killing business?" And Kamsa would say, "Oh, my problem is with the seventh child, not with any of these." And then Narada Muni would say, so this is how Prabhupada would explain to them. Even though it is not in the book, but Prabhupada would explain like this. So Narada Muni would tell Kamsa, you see, you count these fingers like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But if you start counting from this side, the seventh becomes the first. If you start counting and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, see, the first child became the seventh child. Or if you start counting from second finger, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So like that, you can count in different ways. So it could be your killer could be the first child or second child or third child. You don't know. So like that, Prabhupada was explaining and he was giving his commentaries. So we should engage the mind in topics of Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories. Engage the mind in hearing from great devotees of the Lord. Engage the mind in Krishna Katha. Only then the mind can become satisfied. Mind cannot become satisfied otherwise, particularly by focusing on sense gratification. This is how one's mind should be trained. So, in Vedic literature, it is said, in general, we say, who is our enemy? We point to some people. If you go to the corporate world, oh, here is my enemy. Here is my competitor. Because of him, I am not getting the promotion. If I eliminate, or if I find a way to overcome, then I can get what I want. So we point enemies, or a king may point, oh, here is my enemy who is making me lose my sleep. So we identify so many external enemies for our happiness. But the fact is that one who thinks he has many enemies is an ignorant man. One who is in Krishna consciousness knows that there are no enemies but those within oneself, which is an uncontrolled mind. Atmaiva hi ripuratmanaha. The mind itself can be one's enemy if it is uncontrolled. Uncontrolled mind is one's enemy. A controlled mind is one's friend. Atmaiva hi atmano bandhuhu. Bandhu means a friend. If your mind is controlled, it acts as your friend. If your mind is uncontrolled, it acts as your enemy. When Prahlad Maharaj was cursed by this boy, because of the offense to my father, this king will die in 7 days by the snake bite. What a tragedy. But Prahlad Maharaj, by dint of his advanced consciousness, he did not think that this boy is an enemy. He considered that as the benediction. He is just an instrument in the Lord's hand, nature's hand. He took that as an opportunity to become Krishna conscious. He didn't let his mind dictate terms. He dictated terms to his mind. Because according to the dictation of the mind, we create friends and enemies. Oh, here is your friend who is speaking good words to you, even though his intention is to just speak good to you and get all the goodies from you. Like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, one who flatters me is not my enemy. One who points my mistakes is my enemy. So if the spiritual master is chastising me, we are getting chastisement from the devotees. We should consider that they are my real friends. Nobody can be real friend than Krishna or his bona fide representative. So in the mind, usually most of the conditioned souls, they act based on the mind's impulse. There is mind. The mind is always giving ideas and thoughts, but there is also, for devotees, there is super soul, Paramatma. One should take direction from super soul and not the mind. Like Arjuna, you take the standard classical case in Bhagavad Gita. His mind was dictating to him, oh, let's stop the battle. Oh, it's so painful to kill one's own kinsman. You're killing your own gurus, your own elders, Bhishma Dev. What kind of stupidity is this? And the mind was dictating him, and he was delusional. And Krishna was right there. And because he was devotee who became surrendered, Krishna was advising him to overcome the mind's dictation. So unless we engage in bhakti, it is not possible for us to listen to the Paramatma's instructions, Krishna's instructions. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. When we engage in devotional service, Krishna will reveal. The two birds are sitting in the same tree. We are the spirit soul, and we also have super soul within our body to guide us. But if some way or the other we turn our face to our friend, the super soul, he can at once give a good advice. Actually, one devotee was sharing this story in San Diego several years ago. So the Facebook was active at that. I mean, even now it's active, but it was new in those days. He was actively involved, and he got involved with a girl on Facebook connection. So after some time, this girl invited him to her place. So he was looking for a match, and he thought he got a good match and all that. So he accepted the offer and went driving. So while driving there, he got lost several times. He missed the exits, and the GPS was not functional. And he many times he felt he should just give it up and go back to the temple. But in his mind, he wanted to meet that girl. After several hours of driving and losing direction, somehow he got to the destination. He knocked the door and was invited inside. Once inside, the police immediately arrested him for underaged child exploitation, etc. And he was taken to the jail. But somehow the devotees they got together and released him by bail and things like that, proving his innocence. So you see, the devotee later he realized and understood that when he wanted to go there, there were so many signs and indications from the Lord that he should not go there. But because his mind was uncontrolled, lusty, he did not heed the instructions of the Paramatma. See how the mind can really be our enemy if it is uncontrolled, and can be our best friend if it is controlled. So we have actually internal enemies, not external enemies. This kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Our acharyas explain that these can be controlled by our spiritual strength, by the power of Krishna consciousness. Like when Krishna killed these demons, Balaram killed the demons. These demons represent these different anardhas we have, this kama, krodha, lobha, all these kind of things. So with our spiritual strength, with our sadhana, we can surpass and get these anardhas killed by Krishna. So one another beautiful example I heard in this connection about the mind. So you see a piece of paper, it's lying on a surface. On the entire day, it is getting hit by the sun. But it is getting hot, but it's not getting burnt. But if you get a magnifying glass and get the sun's rays through the magnifying glass and focus it on a particular spot on that paper, very soon the paper starts burning. So this is the power of being focused. So the mind is like the sun, which has tremendous potential, but its energies are scattered like the rays of the sun. Too many sense objects are pulling in so many directions, it's scattered, not controlled, not focused. So it fails to ignite our life. So when it is controlled, then it can ignite Krishna consciousness. It can immediately brighten up. Burn means it is the fire of Krishna consciousness is set. The other example I like is about the horse. People who shop for a horse, who buy a horse, they buy a horse which has already been broken. Broken means which is controlled. The horse can be unbroken or broken. Unbroken means the moment you get on it, it'll go wild. Or they pay somebody to break it for them. And then they buy. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury with regards to our mind. Our mind is given unbroken. No one else can train it for us. We have to train it ourselves by hearing the instructions from the spiritual master, by association of devotees, by chanting the holy names Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Once the mind becomes adjusted to the taste of Krishna consciousness, then it is broken. Broken means Just like the horse is broken, it becomes controlled. Otherwise, everybody is riding an uncontrolled horse or untrained horse. An untrained horse can endanger its rider. But if you see the same horse, when it is trained, it can rescue the rider from danger. An example is in the wartime, these well trained horses, they have been trained to carry these wounded riders to safety. So, this untrained mind is danger for us, but when trained, it can protect us from danger. If you train the mind, then it can alert, oh, here is a danger. Just like when you are trained by corporate trainings, some window comes, pop-up window, hey, click here for a jackpot. Then the mind will say, no, 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 no. You have been trained not to click on those things. Don't click that. So it all needs training. Training in Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness. Take shelter in Krishna. The world may appear glittery. All that appears glitter is not gold. Krishna is the real gold. When the mind is focused in Krishna, we can find that satisfaction. Nowhere else can we find satisfaction. This has to be drilled in our mind. However alluring things may be, as long as they are separated from Krishna, nothing can give us satisfaction. So a controlled mind is your friend. We should always remember. An uncontrolled mind is our enemy. I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Sagar Pranam. Please accept my obeisances. All God is to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, again today's again nectar. I was contemplating on sense control. Sometimes we could able to control our senses, but external factors like other people um, um, might be good sometimes and bad sometimes towards you, intentionally or unintentionally. So how do we control, ignoring is like meaning ignoring them is means that we lost our control?
No. Ignoring is not losing control. See, there are different actions one can do in response to others' behavior. It can be keeping silent or it can be responding to them in a way that needs to be responded. But as long as you are contemplating and not reacting instantly, if you contemplate, oh, what I need to respond, a right response, or a Krishna conscious response, a proper response, then you are still in control. But if you give a reaction instantly at the spur of the moment, knee jerk reaction, or spurred by your anger or your emotions, then it is you're acting based on your uncontrolled mind. But if you react or respond consciously, then that response can be anything which is properly thought about.
Got it, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita